All right, awesome guys. So I'm gonna start just off by saying, obviously today is not a day that anybody's gonna like, right? Like nobody enjoys the type of day that we had today, um, right? Like it sucks. Like I don't want to see you guys losing. I don't want to see myself losing. Nobody likes having days like today. So, but they happen. It's a wake up call. It's, you can't be big into swings right now. The market just isn't favorable towards it. So it's a learning moment. Have to adjust, adapt, and overcome on to the next. Like I just posted on the Twitter. You can't let these days turn into days that just absolutely destroy you, or take you down 25% on your entire account or whatever. Like I mentioned 6 months ago, I would have overtraded and just sized up and continually gotten bigger and bigger and bigger into trades, trying to trade myself out of things, and that's just a recipe for disaster. Don't do that. Learn from me and my past mistakes. At the very least, that's something I can impart onto you guys. So I don't like to see plays not go the way I expect them to. It sucks for me. This is, why I talk about, when everything's working, I'm the man. When I'm not, and, a play goes south like SOS did today, everybody, hates me, right? So things like that are going to happen. I'm a human being, not a robot. Obviously, I'd be charging a lot more if I was a robot and every play went 100%. But the point of the live stream tonight is to go over a thing that a lot of people have asked me about, which is trading the plays that I give off open, which in my opinion probably are my most successful and most consistent trades are off the open. I've become pretty good at it, and I'm going to share with you guys the strategy that I learned by failure, right? So I learned by losing money, but I've now gotten down pretty well. And I think that you guys can definitely benefit from this because these are the best plays of the day. And since we're going to be focusing on intraday moves now from this point forward, I want to teach you guys how I look at these things and how I play them. It's not going to work 100% of the time, but I would say 90 times out of 100, this system works for me. So the trade that I want to go over is the trade from Monday morning, so yesterday morning when we traded Riot, okay? And so what I suggest is you have a notepad out, and have your laptop or whatever you trade on desktop, and go on your desktop and view the chart with me. You can see obviously the chart I'm on right now, but I want you guys to follow along, right? So we are trading on this time frame. This is the Riot. This is the 1 minute chart. Okay, from Monday. So this right here is the open. If you have Webull, you know that. If not, you might not recognize it, but we're zoomed in pretty tight here. And what we're going to look at is this is the pre-market action, right? And I put out on the watch list, I said that Riot looked great in pre-market. The volume was really nice. Bitcoin broke over that 40K mark. We ripped up in pre-market, right? And that was what I was looking for is, when I look for a play in pre-market, I'm looking for the above average volume, right? Good momentum and the key levels. And on the watch list, you'll see me mention a lot that I'll say, okay, Riot broke a certain resistance, right? Which is, in this case, it was the 33 level, right? And we gapped up and I think we touched 34.40. Around 925, right? And things were looking really great, but it doesn't really matter what stock it is. Riot is very predictable in this sense, and it's one reason that I feel so comfortable trading off open, and it's one reason that I sized up on this trade is a lot of times, right? So Riot, what it did before open is it went up and tested this 35 resistance, right? We touched that 34.50 level, right? And I said on the watch list that I wanted to see Riot at open, right, ideally come down, right, and retest the 33 support level, right? So turning that old resistance of 33, right, into support. right? And that's what I look for at the open, is a retest of that support level, because I normally, when a play like Riot or Tesla, they trade very similar in that sense, gaps up in pre-market, there's going to be some sell orders that go through right at 9:30, right? And so that's your opportunity to grab calls if you think the play is going to be good. So what I will do is at open, I will wait for this first red candle, which we can see we got right here at 9:30, 9:31. You guys see that? You guys see this red candle right here? Okay, that's what I'm looking for off open to add calls, right? And if you don't feel comfortable enough trading on a desktop solely, or PC or laptop, whatever, what you can do is have the chart up, and then you can use your phone, because sometimes it's quicker to fill an order on mobile with Webull, right? And what I'll do is I will add calls. Ideally, I will add my starter halfway through this red candle, right? When it's approaching the support level, which is what I mentioned. Remember, I said I wanted to see it retest the 33.50 support. I said that in the watch list, right? And we retested that key level, and then look what happened, right? So that's my ideal spot to add calls, is on that first red candle on the 1 minute chart after open, if a play has good momentum and I like it, right? And you'll see me tweet on that candle, right? And the reason it jumped directly after when I tweeted, right, is the next 1 minute candle, look, right? We have this big green bullish candle, which is extremely bullish, right? And then we gapped back up, broke the 34.50 resistance level, right? Kept gapping up, right? This was our first scale out, was at that 35 level, right? And then if you look what happened, right? Does anybody remember where we scaled out on this trade? We scaled out right here on that 37 break, because we knew the 37.5, 37 area was major resistance, right? And after this, I was only holding 10% of the trade. And then, of course, after this, right, we actually made a new high. We touched 38.08. We couldn't break that 38 level, which that 37.8, 38 level is a massive resistance, right? And we exited the calls after that. But I want to show you guys like how, that's exactly what I'm looking for. That's the reason that I'm going over this trade, is it's a textbook setup. And you've seen me mention this exact same setup before, right, on a stock like Skills, right? And I don't know if you guys remember the trade on Skills when it went, I think it went 1,000% or something like that, right? I said we broke that, I believe it was 18.5 resistance, and then we came back down off open, retested the 18.5 level. We turned the old resistance, which is the same thing that happened here on Riot, right? You can look back at the daily chart on Riot, right? Sorry, zoomed out. But if we look back on the daily on Riot, right? Jeez. If we look back on the daily on Riot, we can see we have our levels drawn. One second, guys. I don't know why Webull's being so weird. Hold on 1 second. Right. Okay, there we go. I don't know why that took forever. All right, guys. So as we can tell on the daily with Riot, right? If you guys are wondering where I'm getting these key levels from, it's from the daily chart, right? And so we know that Riot has an extremely strong resistance up here at this 38 level, right? We can see that on the daily chart, right? And we know that we have this 33 level has been a prior support, right? You can see back here in the run in like February and March, we bounced off the $33 level multiple times, right? This was that mid-March correction. We bounced off that 33 level, went back up and retested the 60, I think 3 level is what we touched. This is the Coinbase IPO right here, this green candle, right? And that's the short trade following it. But then we bounced at that 33 or the 38 level again, right? But we touched that 33 level during the correction back in March, right? And then we retested that support here, right? We tried to reverse off that level again and failed. So once we failed, we know that Riot had a pretty significant resistance on the daily at 33 when it was going to try to come back up. That's what everybody had been waiting for, was that $33 level, right? Can you see the levels on mobile too, or do you have to change the settings to see them? So these lines that you guys see, I'm drawing those myself. So if you guys want, you can, if you have your chart open, you can mark up, just on Webull, you go up here, you can hit drawings, and then go over here to horizontal line, and then you hit horizontal line, and you can draw these levels. So these are my personal levels that I have, right? Somebody asked, what if it kept selling off after open? Okay, on Riot, let me finish the daily overview, and then I'll go back and answer that question. So that was my target. This is where I'm getting my targets from, is the daily chart. And I knew we had that strong resistance at 38. That's why I exited the majority of my calls at 37.5, right? But now Riot has that support at 33, like 3-ish, right? 33.5. So today, that's why I was adding calls at 34, 30-ish, right? Because I knew that there was strong support right below that, so I felt like it was a comfortable add spot for me. Going forward, Riot needs to break this $38 level, and then it has a massive gap to fill up. So there's a lot of potential upside on these mining tickers. I'm still pretty bullish on them. But you'll notice if you look at the BTC chart that these levels are the same. Once Riot is going to break this 38 level, once Bitcoin breaks the 42K level, and when that happens, we're going to see a big run. I think this chart is primed to go back to the $60 level. So Riot is now back in focus for me. Right, like as a long target and a long vehicle for trading. So if you guys want, before I go off the screen, you can take down the levels, right? So we have this massive support here at this $20 level. We have a smaller resistance, which is now support at the $25 level, right? And then we have our major resistance that we just broke, which is that $33 level. Over that, I think the next level, like I said, is 38. Once we break 38, 44 is the next logical target. And then if we can get above 44, we have this really nice gap fill, I think, to the 52, and then it's 57 if you want to get more technical, right? And then 60. So for me, above this 38 level though, we should see 44, and then above that level, we should see the 52 level, right? But once we get over 52, Riot trades really, really well. So I'm going to go back to the 1 minute. We breaking 44.16 when BTC is at 45K? Definitely. And guys, I preach about this all the time, but Riot is one of my favorite stocks to trade when it's not trading sideways like it was for a month. That's why I didn't trade it, because there's just no range in here really to play calls or puts. So now we're starting to get some range back on Riot. These are my levels. If you want to screenshot this, I can upload them later. Let me make this a little bit smaller too, because I feel like you guys can't see the full chart. 1 second. Is that better, guys? You guys can see the full levels now. So that's a good question. Do I prefer the 1 minute to the 5 minute? I prefer the 1 minute during open. If I'm trading the open, I will trade on the 1 minute. After that, I will trade the I'll use the 5 minute chart after that. So let me go back here for an example, right? So right here on this trade, I want you guys to notice somebody asked the question, would I have would have happened if it kept selling off right after open? Well, you guys can see that I have a major support level drawn here at that $32 level, $33 level, which was the old resistance. And that would have been my stop loss for the trade, would have been the 32.88 level. So say Riot had opened and I had added on this 1 minute candle, right? And then we had gotten another 1 minute candle. I would have added again at the 33 level. And if it broke that to the downside and went sub, 32.8, I would have exited the trade and taken a small loss. And yes, the contracts can be slightly spready, but if you want to be in the trade, there was 200% upside on those calls. So you place a stop at the 32.8 level, right? If we were redoing the trade in my head, right? I said on the watch list we were going to gap up in pre-market, and then I thought we were going to retest that level after open, which we did, right? So I added on that 33. That first red candle is when I add off open. This isn't just Riot. This happens on Tesla. If you don't feel comfortable enough, play really small, but you'll see this pattern on a lot of stocks. Added this candle. I'll use the 1 minute candle or the 1 minute chart for these first two candles, right? But if we get two really, really bullish green candles like this, right, I'll start using the 5 minute chart because I don't like to trade on the 1 minute, after open. So I'll start using the 5 minute chart after these first, 2-3 candles, right? And then I'll gauge it from there. But to answer the question about what would have happened if it kept selling off, I would have placed a stop right at this major support level. And these are why I love these trades, right? Skills, Riot, they really tend to follow the same pattern of they gap up in pre-market, 931 exactly, they'll gap down, retest a major support level, and then go up, right? And you can also tell that this was VWAP on the 1 minute, right? And even though the candle broke below, we held that major support level, right? That first green candle comes, we get over VWAP, and then it's Rip City, right? And I think these calls ended up going at the peak like 224%. I took the majority of my gains right here on the 35.50, and then I think the 37 break. I took like the majority of my gains, the 36.8 level, and that's because you guys can see I have my levels drawn, right, at 37.5. I know there's a major resistance there. So, trading at its core is buying at support and selling at resistance. What if it's green right off the first two candles? When do you decide to get in? So for me, if I'm trading a stock like this, I'm 100% of the time going to add this first red candle off open, right? And I'll just have a stop loss at this level, right? And, on different stocks, it might be different levels, but on Riot in particular, right? Or say if this was skills, I would have had a stop right below that support level that I wanted it to retest. And I said in the watch list, we're going to retest that $33 level. So I would have had a stop right below it. But I'm always going to add on that first candle. And then if we get that, when we got this candle, I believe I actually added an additional, if you guys remember, I averaged up on this trade. My original average was 39. And then on this candle, once we crossed over VWAP, I added an additional 30% onto my position, and my average was 44. And like I said, what if no red candle? Well, I would say, like I said, it doesn't follow this system every single time, but when plays gap up in pre-market, right, almost always you're going to at least get a very quick red 1 minute candle off open because there are a lot of sell orders or buy orders set for the night before. Now you'll also see this system flipped, right? So if Riot, for example, was gapping down all morning in pre-market, right? And then it was approaching a major support level as the market was about to open, you might see a green candle off open because it's naturally bouncing off that support level, which is just as safe as an add. At the end of the day, it comes down to support and resistance. But traditionally, when you gap up like this at a resistance point right at the 9:25 time frame in the morning, you'll get that red candle off open, retest that support level, and then go long. Sometimes you add a new stock other than the daily watch. How do you get the new ones? If I'm adding a new stock that isn't on the watch list already, it's because I'm playing a sympathy play normally, unless there's news or some other major factor. Thanks, I always use the 5-minute. Yeah, I traditionally use the 5-minute too. The only time that I'll use the 1-minute is off open. Are you setting those stop losses immediately, or are you mentally setting a stop for yourself? I do not set hard stop losses. I set a mental stop loss at this support level, and I try to stick as close as I can to it. And there can be other factors, right? Like if SPY gaps down or something like that. But traditionally, these stocks are they follow patterns, and they're going to respect their support and resistance levels. So like I said, I would have just set a stop here in my head and been like, okay, if it breaks 32.8 to the downside and I see a massive, like instead of this green candle here, if I just saw a massive red candle and we, went to like 32.6 or something, I would have stopped out of the trade and just taken my loss, and I can revisit it later. I don't have to feel like I need to stay in something. Did you ever play puts? Yeah, I played puts all month during like the end of March and all through April, and the first part of May. I was like almost exclusively playing puts. Do you ever post out all different watch lists? I post the same watch list every morning. Sometimes I'll lower my stop loss. Yes. So sometimes, like you can, some people in this case, right, for this particular trade, they might have had their stop at VWAP, right? And sometimes you'll see that, especially on like Riot and Tilray, is this candle will come down below VWAP, but there'll be a major support level right below VWAP, and it'll hold that support even though it breaks VWAP, and then you'll get this reversal candle, right? And that reversal candle will go right back above VWAP, and then the trade's bullish again, right? So for me, I care more about, I'll set a mental stop at like VWAP or like right under it, and if there's a bid on level 2. Normally if I'm changing my stop, it's because I'm seeing something on level 2, like a major bid order that's moved, maybe 10 cents lower, so I'll adjust my stop. But I try not to adjust my stop too much. I'll give it like 20 to 30 cents worth of wiggle room, but not too much more than that. Do I use pre-market support? Do I use pre-market support and resistance, or prior day highs and lows? I refer to the daily chart almost like exclusively because you can see in pre-market, right? Like we held this 33.5 level pretty well, and that ended up being the level that we retested, 33.4. So in this case, it would have been a pretty good support. You can see that we took that pre-market low over here of 33.32. But you'll notice that those levels, the pre-market support and resistance, are just longer term, like major support levels. Like in this case with Riot, the 32.9 level is a pretty big support. And you guys can see how that trade worked for us, right? Like if we go back in pre-market, you can see like we always held this 33 level. We were very strong support for us. And then you can see what happened after we took the trade, right? And I think that was probably the smoothest trade that we had all week. I think CAN was really good too, but we can look at CAN. We'll look at the same time frame. Wait, don't want to look at Caterpillar. Am I explaining this stuff clearly enough for you guys? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is this making sense? You guys can tell me in the chat. I'm looking at the chat right now. Is this do you understand kind of what I'm talking about and where my thoughts are coming from? Okay, awesome. Cool. If you don't understand, it takes some time to look over, but it's a pretty it's a system that I use every single day. So let's look at CAN on the 1 minute. Okay, so here's the CAN 1 minute chart, right? So here's a good example, right? Somebody asked, okay, so look at on CAN, right? I mentioned that we had a very strong support at 9, right? This is the exact same time frame as Riot, right? So with CAN, see, we gapped up in pre-market. This is like 9:25. We gap up in pre-market, right? And then we started to flush right into market open, right? Because people are expecting those sell orders to fill. But in this case, we got a green candle, right? And we stayed right above VWAP, and we held that 9 level perfectly, right? So we held that pre-market low, which also happens to be a major support level on the daily. After we held that level, right, I took calls on this second 1 minute candle. We gap up, right? And then this was our first take profit point, was this 1017 level, right? After that, right? And then this trade took a little bit longer to develop, you know, and it followed Riot. And, you know, you'll notice that when Riot broke the 38 level, right, that was when CAN broke over this 11 level, which was a huge resistance point, right? And we broke over the 1070 level, which was a huge resistance point. And during the day, I posted a screenshot that showed how there was a massive wall on level 2 at the 1070 level. So, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, guys, at the heart of this is support and resistance, but trading the open can be intimidating if you don't know the key levels, right? So that's why I say how important it is to draw your key levels, right? And, you know, like I said with Riot, it's very common to get that red candle. Stocks have different personalities. That's just how Riot works. And I traded that exact trade 200 times probably, you know, so I know it well and I have a good feel for it. And that's why it takes practice. So if you're not totally ready to trade the open yet, play really small. Maybe buy 5 contracts if you have a smaller account, or buy 10 contracts if you have a medium-sized account. You know, like me, I'm going to usually take 100 to 150 contracts. That's just because that's where I'm sizing. On a trade that I'm super confident in, like that with Riot, I happen to take 200 contracts, you know, and I end up making like $9,000 on that trade, which is awesome. So let's go over here. I want to look at the CAN daily chart. This will give us a better idea, and you can kind of tell, right, that the CAN daily, right, looks very similar to Riot in the sense that, let's look here. There we go. All right, so when you look at the CAN daily chart, right, we have to zoom in a little bit, but I posted this on the watch list. Do I ever market sell or buy? I'm usually going to get filled. So yeah, levels are all manual. So you guys can take down these levels if you want, but you should learn just how to get comfortable looking at a chart and seeing support and resistance. So like obviously when a stock is having trouble getting above a certain point, that's resistance. You can tell that obviously over this, 1150 level, there's a major gap to fill to 15. And that used to be an old support level for CAN, just like 38 used to be an old support level for Riot, right? Like this 14 level is huge because that was an old support that had bounced off multiple times, right? So it's going to be a very strong resistance, you know, old support turns into new resistance and vice versa. So getting above that level will be huge for CAN. Over that, it goes over, 1876. And then obviously there's a lot of room up. But if I was to draw out the levels on the rest of this chart, right, we noticed that we had some support here at the 2170 level. But above that, right, because, this is where we had such a smooth gap down, when we gap up, it'll be equally as smooth. It'll be a really, really nice runner. And I think that the BTC plays will all get back to where they were at some point. But I can't tell you how long that's going to be. How do I catch premium so quickly? Do you trade with the options list and the stock chart side by side? Yes, I do. Sometimes if Webull is being slow, and I can just kind of tell when the Webull interface is being slow on desktop, I'll legit use my phone and get fills because it can be quicker. And I'll have the 1 minute chart up on my computer and then have my phone in my hand. So, Do you think it's get out of swings now? I mean, I don't know the future. I don't know, what the Fed's going to talk about. I don't know if it's going to be a positive or negative, right? I cut like some of the like swings that I was just down on a ton today. But I kept other ones like MindMed, right? And I'm happy I did because MindMed went up, 8% after hours, right? And we touched that breakout level. So I know that's one a lot of people wanted me to go over. So I'll do that now. As you can tell, guys, MindMed, these are the key levels, right? So this 404 level is a massive resistance. And the reason being is because we gapped down really hard from 570. So I think tomorrow, if the market is strong, right, MindMed has some good sentiment behind it. If we break over this 404 level, we have a massive gap to fill. And when stocks do this, they tend to fill that gap one way or another. And, MindMed happens to have the conference on Thursday morning. So I'm still optimistic of this swing, even though I'm down on it right now. Obviously, I still think it can be a really, really nice move if we get over 404. I can definitely post the rest of the watch list tickers. How do I use VWAP? In a $5,000 account is $500 per trade ideal. If you have a $5,000 account, I would use 500, 10%. Maybe you could even do 400, 8% on super confident trades. If it's like a more risky trade, I would risk 200. And if it's super, super confident, if it's a setup you trade every single time and you've been trading for a while and you know it well, you could use $1,000. But if you're, a $5,000 account, if I was trading with a $5,000 account, I'd be using 500 per play, and I would keep, a 20% stop loss. Ripster has some really good stuff in Atlas. Can I go over the EH this morning? Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, so EH, right, so let's do the 5-minute chart. So EH this morning, we opened really, really strong, and we had massive buy volume this morning. So if we go in, let's look at the 1 minute. All right, so another good example, right? We want to talk about trading the open. What do we see right here, guys? That look familiar? You see what I'm talking about? You get that massive red candle off open. We bounce off this $43 support level, which happened to be VWAP, right? And then we get this green candle, we get above VWAP, and then once we really get above VWAP, even though we had some wicky candles, it's a lower float, we gapped up to that 47 level. We were scaled out at that 46 test, that 46 resistance. And that's just because I knew there was a massive resistance point at 50, which I had drawn. So again, this morning, the trade on EH was perfect. We retested this 42.8, 43 level, bounced off of it. I added calls off the first red candle, just like I explained I did on Riot. So like I said, guys, it's not just Riot. EH is, it worked the same way. So how do I go about picking call strikes or puts? On EH, I noticed the $55 call was lagging when I got it I got 90, filled at 95 for 25% of my position, then one on the others. They went to 185, I think, or 188. I think they went like 80%. But, I'll pick, an out of the money strike more often than not because I like the increased volatility long side. But sometimes it just depends. If the market's really good, I'll go a little bit farther out of the money. If not, I'll try to stay closer. 28K in stocks. I don't know. I have my long-term portfolio, my Roth IRA is posted on Patreon with all the averages and weighted percentages. So I hope I covered, this is, like I said, guys, you'll notice that the Riot trade and then EH, we saw that same red candle, dips to support, bounces off of it. I'll always mention things like that in the watch list. I'll say I'm looking for something to, off of open, gap down and retest a certain support level. And most of the time we will usually do that. And then, so on a trade like this, just for example, you're asking me, what if it had kept going down off this red candle? Well, I would have had a stop here at 42.10. So before if you see a ticker on the watch list that you like, go and put the key levels on the chart, right? I don't trade with EMA clouds. I use VWAP and support and resistance levels, and that's it. I would love to see Wish fly soon. Also, more capital play with 28K, but you'd also vaporize 28K. Yeah, don't cash out like your long-term portfolio to play options. Like I've been trading options for a long time, and now I'm doing it full time, but I still don't trade options with more than 100K. It's just, for me, like options are not something that you play with size. Like, I'm never gonna put more than 10 to 15K in one play ever. Just because it's just, if it goes great, I'm not looking to make, 40K each trade, on option scalps. Like I'm more than happy taking 4 trades, all of them paying, 5K each and making 20K a day. That's my goal every day. If you asked me what a perfect day would look like, it would be 3 to 4 confident setups, that I all get 50+% on. So, how I use unusual whales, I don't use unusual whales. Me and him are just cool. We're boys on Twitter. So he's an awesome guy. I think his service is cool. Personally, I used Benzinga Pro because I like their software. I like their system. So if I'm doing research on like a swing or something like that. But I'm going to keep the swings to a bare minimum, guys. From this point forward, I'm going to keep primarily intraday trades because I just think that too many people are getting in the swings really heavy, and I don't want to see people losing. I hate seeing people losing. I'm journaling my trades for you guys every day. The swing market looked like it was coming back this week. Totally faked this out. And then today was just like, it felt like the reckoning. Like it's the worst possible day to be in swings. And I just honestly, for right now, I'd rather just keep it day trades because I think consistency rate on my day trades has been probably 90% have been green, 10% have been red. So I think I'm just going to keep it with the high confidence day trades and medium confidence day trades for now. I'll still play lotto day trades for you guys, and I'll always put lotto or risky in front of it. Those are ones I never go with more than 1 to 2K in. So, and that's 1% of my account. Heaviest I've gone in an option trade, and why was it Riot? So the heaviest I ever went in an option trade was back during the market correction back in March, and that was when Riot had gone to 70, and then we got the correction in March, and the day that Riot hit 33, like literally I know it sounds ridiculous, but on this candle, I was like, okay, Riot was just 70, 2 weeks ago. So I added $30,000 worth of calls that were in the money. I added $34 calls or $35 calls when Riot was at 34. And obviously you can see what happened afterwards. And that was one of my most profitable trades ever. The only time I'll go really heavy in an options trade like that, I think that day I put 30K in Riot and 20K in Tesla and like doubled my account at the time. But the only time I'll do that is I see something that I'm just like, this is ridiculously oversold and there's no real reason it should be. But that was when the market was hot, guys. The market's a different market. I mean, look at we've been in this like ugly like downtrend sideways action for a long time. So, and the inflation worries are freaking everybody out and stuff like that. So I would need to see growth rebound much stronger to be heavy in a play like that. Yes, I'll definitely start trading puts if we get into like a more bear market. So, when I alert that, I will. But for now, I am still more bullish. Even today, you could have played puts off open, but for me, I still think the market is biased towards a bullish market. Think SPY has a correction soon. I do think SPY could be in correction territory next week. I literally never trade SPY, but if we bounce hard and gap up the rest of the week, I may get in and swing some puts over the weekend. So, all right, guys. Hopefully that was a good overview on how to trade the open. I really hope that it was helpful. I think that I covered a lot of the basics on things and how I look at trades. So it's been about 45 minutes. I'm extremely tired and honestly have not obviously had the best day. So I think I'm going to call it a night. You guys are awesome. I know that today sucks. But I think we're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to get after it. And then it's going to be an awesome rest of the week. So we're going to end this week strong. We're going to keep the mindset positive, and it's an on to that next mentality, guys. 100% of the time, it's on to the next. So I really, really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for all the love. I cannot thank you enough. I will definitely drink the 6 Michelob Ultras. Game for life, guys. I hope you guys have an awesome evening. I'm going to get some sleep. Take it easy. I thank you guys for all the love, seriously. The hoodies are dropping the end of this week, so I will drop the link when it's ready. And yeah, thank you guys for the Gamma Gang color options. We're gonna do gray, guys. I'll talk about the merch really quickly. This is our first merch drop, guys, so we're gonna do one color, try to keep it high quality stuff, but just not as many options this time around. In the future, the merch drops will be like way more choice and things like that, but we really want to get this hoodie out because the movement has been really strong with the Gamma Gang, and there's a lot of wants for them right now. So yeah, absolutely, we'll do sweats and tank tops and stuff, but we want to get one merch drop out of the way and kind of feel out the market because it's not an easy thing to do. So anyway, I really appreciate the love and support. You guys are awesome. Chicken Trades is going to be replying to all the DMs that he's been backlogged with. He's had a lot of crazy stuff going on. His family's in town, so he got a little bit backed up, but he will be responding to all the DMs and taking care of you guys. Yes, the final tier on Patreon did get a free hoodie. I posted the design on the private Twitter. You can go and view it. I will post those on the Patreon page tonight. So I will be posting this entire recap of the live stream tonight, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. Thank you guys for tuning in, and you guys are the best. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic evening, guys. Take it easy.